kept me from placing higher. Not my back in general, like conditioning in my lower body 100%. So I don't know. I was a little like confused with the feedback, to be honest. Like I actually even sent it to my coach and I was like, I was like, this feels like she just responded to respond, but didn't actually look at my photos. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion. Like I said, I'm an open book. I'm always honest about everything. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Like I do feel like my feedback. I'm like, so what am I supposed to work on then? Just getting a little bigger. Like I feel like there were other things that I could have worked on. Like it was my first national show. I'm like, give me the critiques. I can take it. Like give me a list. Let me know. Like I want to know.
Well, the thing is, with that show, with the Nationals, you have so many competitors, but yet, you need to sit down and just, okay, if you're in the top three in your class and you're just so close from a point or two from getting a pro card, I would sit down and say, okay, here's problems here. If you fix this here and fix that there, give you everything precise. So when it's time for another shot for your pro card or do another show, you can fix those problems. So the thing with coaching, it's kind of, well, not the coach, I mean judging. It's kind of just kind of, you know, here and there. One thing I've been talking about here is, they just added the new division coming up this year is the fit model division. Excuse my language. So, I'm not a fan of it. I think here's the problem is this is what they did a few years ago with bikini because they felt like women's body would get too large, too defined. They bring in a division. Instead of fixing the problem you had in front of you at the time, you put it in something else, and then it becomes involved with the other divisions, just like fitness, just like physique, just like figure. Even bikini and wellness has evolved because with the other three, women's bodybuilding, physique, figure, and fitness, they evolved from women's bodybuilding, but the other two really were brought in. They and this is no offense to the competitors. This is how I feel of it. It's an invasive species. You ever hear how iguanas live in Florida, but they're actually from South America, and people bring them here, and then they make them pets, and they let them out, and now they are all over the place in places in Florida and other states because they have grown to live in that environment. And that's the thing with bodybuilding, just like what happens to women's with a bikini and with wellness. It's in the sport now. It has evolved with the sport. I'm seeing women coming from physique and figure coming over to wellness because they feel like they were too either they feel like they wouldn't fit in either physique or figure. But you're changing that aspect of that division because you're coming from there. It's the same thing happened in women's bodybuilding. When with physique, when some female bodybuilders didn't know where to go, so they went to physique because they felt like they were too small for bodybuilding, and it changed the look of it.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it's better to try to fix the problem you have now and give a detailed explain detail of it so everybody can understand what they need to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said yesterday too. Like I think it's great to introduce more people to the sport, but like you just said, like there's criteria online for what women's physique is supposed to be, what women's wellness is supposed to be, all these things. And I don't feel like even like the women's physique girls at nationals, like that's not true women's physique either. Like in like the criteria just is not what they have posted, and I feel like that needs to be fixed before just introducing more people. Yeah, for the same reason of like you said, it's just you got to address the first problem before it's like let's just add a new category and add another because then in a few years they're going to do the same exact thing. The same thing's going to happen.
Yeah, you just can't just how best way to say it. It's an old movie called Scarface with Al Pacino, and there's a part in it. I love movies. There's a part in it where him and his friend goes to the drug dealer's motel room. So the drug dealer kills one of his friends and about to kill Tony, and then they use a chainsaw. They're doing, they're performing surgery with a chainsaw. And surgery's supposed to be precise. You're supposed to fix the problem, then boom, boom, and sew it up, and everything's good. Not just make a bigger mess. Here we have here for a man, Geo James. He says, beautiful. He's a fan. Also, we have here from my man Michael Bissell. It says women are definitely as capable as men when it comes to bodybuilding. She seems very successful in fitness. I wish her the best. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, what really guided you to do this? Because most people wouldn't want to get something like fitness because it's a lot of work, a lot of responsibilities. Because I know you have a lot of clients, or you know, some of a mix of health clients and some of competitors.
Hmm. Yeah. So do you mean like what drove me to start my own business or like what? Okay.
All of it,
So,
all of it.
okay. So as far as starting my own business, I one like always knew that I wanted to help people and I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that, but a lot of my jobs I've ever had in my life are all like around helping people in some sort of way. So I always knew that I wanted to do that, and I always have loved the gym. Like, so I guess rewind. What got me really into working out, and like why am I gonna put in the work and show up at the gym every day? I moved schools in junior high, and I was bullied really, really bad in junior high and in the beginning of high school. There's a girl that was like a grade above me, so like it was a good portion of junior high, and then she was out of my life for a year because she was in high school, and then I got to high school and it started again because it was the same person. Um, so that I remember specifically, I got beat up after school one time. Like I was not a fighter and I'm still not a fighter. Like I am a hard worker and like yeah, I'll hold my own, but I'm not like if there's not a reason for confrontation, I don't want there to be confrontation. Like that's not me. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I remember this girl like came up to me and initiated like wanting to fight and I literally told her I was like I'm not doing this. I'm not fighting, whatever. I went to like walk away and then basically got jumped from behind and whatnot as I was walking away. And after that situation, we had to get, I got PPOs against her and the one other friend of hers that caused most of the problems and solved all of that. But I said, I was like, I need to be strong. I was like, I was like, and people also made fun of me for being like stockier in general and being like broad shouldered. So I was like, I want to be strong. Like I want to look strong too. Like I didn't think I was fat by any means, but I wanted to look better. I wanted that muscly look and I just kind of was like, all right, like if you're gonna say I look like a man or look muscular or whatever, like let me show you what strong is. Let me show you that. And I knew that I was training in certain different sports and that it would help me out for different things too. So I was like, why not? And honestly, once I started going to the gym, I made a different friend group of different people that were at the gym, and some of them being older too, that I just didn't have. So I kind of like found that stress relief and that love for the gym very early. And that was my place to go. Even when I was going to sports, like I was the kid that I went to my sports practice till like 5 o'clock after school. And then I went to the gym until like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then went home, ate dinner, did my homework, went to bed. Like that's what I did. So that's kind of what drove me into like the fitness part in general. So I remember in high school writing down like, what do you want to do when you're older? I said, I want to get paid to work out, right? Like that was my dream job. So I didn't know that it was a possibility actually or what that all entailed. But like I said, in college, I started working at a gym. And after doing that for a couple of years, I was like, I think I could do this better and help people more in a different way. So then I did. And I knew pretty early on that I didn't want to work for somebody else. I had a few different jobs in college, but I had one big corporate job specifically where I worked for a big company and just absolutely hated it. And I was like, I am never doing this. I want to control my own destiny and schedule and life in general. So that's long story short ish of kind of why I did all the things I did and the path that led me there.
Well, I can understand. As a kid growing up, my family was poor. We didn't have a lot of things. We didn't have always the best clothes. Kids pick on me because I'm short, and I was like, I'm only 5'7". I'm probably about 5'6", 5'5", and I was really heavy set, broad shoulders, big. Just it was in my family. Me and my sister were the probably we were about the same build because we took after my grandmother, my father's mother's side of the family. And yeah, yeah, I don't like fighting if I can avoid it. But if I have to, I got to do what I got to do. If you were my child or my little sister, someone's going to their hands handed to it. I mean, I'll be, be like, I'd be like, there's an old school wrestler called Dusty Rhodes. I'd be throwing railroads be like a shotgun, But yeah, I mean, people who don't understand what somebody who that person is, who they want to be, and just because it's not the norm in their mindset. And it's so easy to pick on something that's different, but not saying, why but as children, we sometimes we just either we go with the crowd or we just don't want to look like an outsider. It's tough about life, especially when you're growing up because you're in your teen years, you're not grown yet, or and then you're not really a child anymore. It's just that in between, and that's the tough part of that life.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm. Yeah, it made me want to give you a big hug, saying, because I said I'm an uncle, I'm a great uncle. Maybe think of my nieces and nephews, and I think, I love them to death. I don't see them too often like I used to, but I always tell you, sweetheart, everything's gonna be all right. You'll be fine. So, when you that feeling when you first was on stage, what was that like for yourself? Being up there on stage, people got there like this. Most people who are out there crowd, when we see you competitors, we see these people in these nice little outfits, all these big muscles, and they're standing around in the light and everything, just a big show, but don't understand the process of the show, how the work you have to get there, you're tired, dehydrated, you're hungry. What was that feeling like for you when you first competed?
Yeah, so you forget about all of the bad feelings when you get on stage, or at least I did. But I also I feel like my answer to this is a little different because I have a history of being on stage. Like, I am the lead singer in a band, and I've done so many different singing competitions, singing like national anthems and choir and performing different things. So like, I'm not a stranger to being in front of people, even like alone doing something, So and I was in theater in high school. Like, I'm not a stranger to any of that. So that part was not as nerve-wracking for me. Um but I loved it. Like, I love being on stage, and I said, like, yesterday in the interview I had too. It's like, it's kind of a tease bodybuilding to me, because you do all the work and prep for all the things, but you get like 2 minutes to show it all on stage, where it feels like 2 minutes. It feels like 30 seconds, and then you're done, and then you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm done. I don't get on stage anymore. Like, that's that. So um it felt really, really cool. I remember like the first time and the first show of this year where I felt like pretty shaky on stage posing. Like, it's just the adrenaline. Like, you practice everything, and then it's like you get out there and you're like, oh my gosh, like, now these people are watching me. But I remember on nationals, at nationals, I didn't feel nearly as nervous. Like, I'd done it all 6 weeks prior. I was just ready. Like, and I remember all times I felt super confident and I'm just having a great time, which I know is not the case for everybody. And I think that people really do themselves a disservice, like getting in their head so much on show day and like letting those nerves ruin that day for them, because you do work so hard for that one day, that one time to show it off. And if you're all in your head and thinking that you look terrible and whatnot, like that, you're going to show that as well. Versus if you're like, I did the work, we're here having a good day, all's good, like, they're going to see that confidence too on stage, and they both show.
You got to go in there with your head high, because you have to present yourself, especially for women, because the view of it is that women shouldn't have muscles. I'll say again, but being a fan of the sport, I think y'all ladies are beautiful. You bring in a beautiful presentation when you come out on stage. For us, is my crime is I must have heard smile, and I admit that. But it's just learning from when I do these interviews of what it takes for y'all ladies to get there. You're like you working. I know Dom got you on a diet and on a plan. Your training regiments, your sleep recovery, and especially you do it naturally, which is totally takes a lot more than the competitors that use supplements or enhancements. because that's one thing people think about bodybuilding. It's all but steroids. It's like you just like all you just back to be a not. No. That's only a small factor. And with your case, it's not even a factor. If you're
Right.
not consistent, if you don't train, you don't follow the plan, you know, you can't do what you used to do. Like, okay, like one thing is like, I was just from my doctor's office. I put on a little weight, but it's the winter time. You don't put on weight, holidays, stuff like that. But at one point, I was almost 500 pounds because I was taking care of my mom for a long time. She was sick. And then when she died, I said, you know what? I got to take care of me. And like yourself, I worked. I had two jobs. Sometimes I had multiple jobs coming up. I worked at a gas station. I worked at a textile plant. I worked at, processing plants. I worked here, worked there. I even worked at a gentleman's club. That was at nighttime. Hey, it wasn't all guts and glory over there, sweetheart. It was like, I tell you, there's nights. It's good nights. It's good nights. There's bad nights. But when we get into bodybuilding, that's the thing is you have to be able to put in the work and the time and make some sacrifices. I know, like your family, I know most definitely, your parents be like, sweetheart, I know you love doing this, but we're so worried about you. We don't want you to be, because there's always these stuff about people say about bodybuilders.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people, there are people that just hear things and they're ignorant and don't learn more, right? They think what they think about the prep and whatnot, and that's that. But um, I think people in general are a little too open to just like throwing their opinions around about how they feel about what you're doing or whatnot too. Um, but yeah, the comments can make it hard. Like I feel like in general, I'm pretty good about just like ignoring people that aren't on the same page as me and not letting that affect me or get to me. But there are sometimes like it's really hard. Like I can think of one thing specifically. My dad is super duper supportive of me. Like and I know anything he says never comes from a bad place. But I remember like one comment, my first prep ever for my first show, and I was down to it was maybe like a couple weeks out from being on stage. So I was maybe like 120 pounds or 119 pounds, something like that. And he was like, like you look good, obviously, like you look jacked, but like I think you look a lot better at 130. And like him saying that, like in that stage, I was like, well, I think you should fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, but he didn't mean it like that. Like it is being stage lean and people seeing that, like it is hard for them to see sometimes or for them to understand if they've never done something like that. Like, why would you want to do that? Or like, how much leaner do you really need to get? Like somebody that's never been to a show, which at that point he hadn't, right? Like they don't even know what that's like. They like people will look at me now and they'll be like, "How many weeks out are you?" And I'm like, "This is the off season." I'm like, "You have no idea what stage lean looks like." Like, yeah, I'm lean, but like you have no freaking clue. So it's more. I understand that it more so comes from an ignorance thing, right, and just not knowing any better. Um, but then yeah, like the comments do get hard sometimes, but you just have to know to separate any of that from that. Like I can even think too like I remember my first show ever, my mom, like the day of the show, like in between shows, she was like, "Can I like take you out for lunch or something?" I was like, "No, no, you cannot." I was like, I go back on stage in a few hours. Like, no. She's like, "Does it really matter like what you eat the day of?" And I'm like, "Oh," like I'm like, "Are you not like listening to anything I've been saying?"
We gotta remember this. You're her baby.
I
Because
know.
I see. I grew up in a family. Like, I'm like the middle next to middle next to youngest, and when you're the baby, you're your mama's baby, right? Aren't you?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you're the baby. I'm a middle son. We had to fight for our love. You're the last one. You're her last one, and she doesn't want her. See, this is how it breaks up the family hierarchy. Firstborn sons, so firstborn child, father's pride. Lastborn child, mother's heart. The middle, we had to fight for both of them. You're the last baby. You don't expect your mama saying, "Baby, I don't want you to be dying out there in your little bikini. I be worried about you." No, but I know it's tough. It's tough because you are an athlete. You want to be out there. You don't want to be whole like you don't feel like a little kid being walked across the hand, with your mama. But yeah, she's gonna work. That's all it is.
Yep. To make it even worse, I'm the only child, so
Ooh, you're one of the lucky ones. That's worse. Yeah,
yeah, it is
yeah,
worse.
yeah. That means that like
I
she's
can't blame anybody. It's all on me. I got nobody to blame.
see
It's all my.
see me. I had like I had three ahead of me, and I got two behind me. So actually, I had like I had these a bunch of me. But I'm the middle, so it's like that. But yeah, I mean, it's tough that especially like I said, I'm not a parent, but I did help my nieces and nephews in their lives, and it's hard to sit back and watch your child going through something and you want to do something to help them. But this is something of your choosing and you know it. But like I said, it's going to take your parents a while to understand, especially your father. I think, well, anything, you're his daddy's little girl, his only girl. And,
Mhm.
he's proud of you. I know he's proud of you. But I know he has to deal with either the assholes making comments about his daughters or the freaks making comments about his daughters say, "Hey, who's that? That's your girl?" Say, "Yeah. Wouldn't mind talking to her." Say, "Hey, that's my little girl, my baby." But you know what? This is the thing about the sport. It's good that you find that you love what you're doing. You have to love to do this because it's a tough sport. It's mentally, physically, financially tough, you know.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. It is, but I do love it, and yeah, I definitely do enjoy it. Just to not run